Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I want to start by doing something Peter Horn usually does at assemblies. Happy late birthday, Peter. You deserve that recognition, fellow pianist. He's my roommate, by the way. But alas, I'm not here to talk about you. I'm here to talk about a very different pianist and rather introduce him. This pianist has been friends with our very own Mr. Zipoli since they were kids, in this very town of ours. Watertown, surrounding area, it's all the same to me. Anyway, his name is Shaun Tirrell. I like fun facts, so here we go. Mr. Zipoli and Mr. Tirrell won the 8th grade science fair at Gordon C. Swift Junior High. Mr. Tirrell actually ended up going to Watertown High School instead of Taft, where his older brother and Mr. Zip went. He and his older brother were both big runners. One of them had a record that lasted here for a while, so they say. He was one of the most premier runners, the premier runner, in Connecticut. In the spring of 1984, Mr. Tirrell played an evening vespers at Taft, Bach, Chopin, Liszt, and was given a standing ovation. That was our trip down memory lane. He now has a wife and 3 kids and is the founder and co-owner of a high-end piano restoration company called Pianocraft. In his presentation, I'm sure Mr. Tirrell will tell you all about his performances all around the world, where he has played, experiences, and much more. I want to close my time with a wonderful quote from Mr. Zipoli. Shaun is an obsessive-compulsive perfectionist who hides behind a veil of normality while his inner demons face off with the forces of the universe. Please welcome Mr. Shaun Tirrell.
Good morning. Thanks, Alex, for that introduction. Yeah, I came to this stage a few times in my life, and the first time was about 35 years ago. I guess it was for evening vespers. I thought it was for morning matins. And this is an amazing stage. I don't know if you know this, but the great Glen Gould, if you had to pick one of the 3 greatest pianists in history, Glen would be on that list. He played this piano back in the 50s. Yeah, as Alex said, Joe and I, we grew up in Watertown, Connecticut, elementary school and junior high. And Joe, Mr. Zipoli to you, was always an incredible, smart guy. I mean, this guy never got below like 100. Anything extra credit he would do, you know, his average would be like 4.8 or something like that. And for fun, Joe would go to the college math books and do like the problems at the end of the book, so it was unsolved problems. I mean, super, super smart guy. And I was really smart too. Not like Joe though. I was smart because, as you heard, I picked him to be my partner for the science fair in junior high. And what we did in the science fair, we won. You know, again, really smart. I knew we'd win if I picked Joe. So what we did is we took 2 pairs of mice. And one pair, we fed like whole grain foods, fruits, vegetables, you know, all the best stuff. And the other 2, we fed like beer and Coke and chips and junk food. And we took data over several weeks, maybe even a few months. And we checked their motor skills, their fur, their coats, their ability to go through mazes. And as you might guess, the 2 that we fed the chips and the Coke and the beer to, they thrived. They were better, smarter, faster. The other two died the second the experiment was over. To this day, I still have Spike and Bud as pets. They're a staple in my household. They help with the laundry, the kids' homework. Of course, just the opposite, obviously. I digress. But anyways, those of you lucky enough to have Mr. Zipley as a teacher, he's not only a math giant, he's a great musician, and he's a guy with an incredible imagination. This guy's not going to have you think outside the box. He's going to get you far away from that stinking box. Forget the box. And that's what I want to talk to you today. I want to talk to you about music and imagination and basically the power of music. We have all heard that music expresses the inexpressible, that it's a way of thinking, without words, that it helps us see the world through a different lens, helps us understand our feelings. Yeah, that's all true. Today I'd like to take it a little deeper. I have a mantra, and it's in 3 parts. The first part is great music stimulates the imagination. When the imagination is stimulated, great things happen. Second part is great music can stop us in our tracks and force us to be mindful. The third part, this is the big one, great music can lead us to truth. Not just any truth, universal truth. Great music can, in fact, unlock the secrets of the universe. Tall order, but I'm going to show you that today. I'll get a little coffee. It's early for me. Pianists don't usually get up this early. The next piece I'd like to play is by Claude Debussy, and it's titled Les sons et les parfums turned on l'air du soir. The scents and sounds swirl in the evening air. The title is from a poem by Baudelaire called Harmonie du Soir, Evening Harmonies. Debussy curiously put it at the end of the piece. He wanted us to imagine for ourselves what the beautiful piece was about. And Debussy described this piece as a melancholy waltz bathed in the half-light between the conscious and the subconscious. A dream from which the veils have to be lifted. Now that, my friends, is the same way that Jonas Salk described how he came up with the vaccine for polio in the 1950s. Jonas Salk would go to bed every night with a little journal next to his bed. And he would imagine himself as the virus, imagine himself as the vaccine. And in that, I know. And he even had a term for this. It's called inverted perspective. It was his process for imagination. So lo and behold, after doing this several times, he came up with a vaccine for polio. He eradicated polio from the planet. He didn't even go for a patent. He said, you can't patent the sun. Imagine that today, someone coming up with that. They'd be like, yes, I'm going to be a billionaire, baby. Yeah, but no, this guy, he didn't go for any money. He just let the whole world have it right away. A few years later, when he built the Salk Institute, he hired Louis Kahn, the architect. If you know Louis Kahn, he built the Phillips Exeter Library, one of your rival schools. He also designed the capital of Bangladesh, which hopefully won't be underwater in the next few years with rising seas. Anyhow, he told Louis Kahn, he said, Louis, build me a center worthy of a visit by Picasso. And why did he do that? Because he wanted to inundate his scientists that came there with beauty, stimulate their imagination. He also would bring in LA Philharmonic. He would bring in Guarneri String Quartet. He'd bring in poets, artists. He basically built a crucible of creativity. And forever engraved on the walls of the Salk Institute are his famous words that hope lies in dreams, in imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into reality. I give you Debussy's Sounds and Perfumes Swirl in the Evening Air. Now it's time for us, as Leonard Bernstein says, to get drunk with imagination. Right here on this stage, without the alcohol, right here on this stage, we're going to enter the mental constructs of two of the greatest geniuses in history. One, Albert Einstein, and the other, Ludwig van Beethoven. Now, a little background on both men first. Albert Einstein, in case you didn't know, was a really good violinist and a really good pianist. And he said that he came up with his theories of relativity while playing the great works of the master composers. And he actually, if you look through some of his biographies, he said that he lived his life and saw his life in terms of music. He said that sound in the form of music gave him more pleasure than anything else on earth. And most importantly, he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And this is coming from Einstein. So we have to listen. Now, Einstein thought the great composers had a direct link to the cosmos. The great guys like Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Schubert, they were conduits to the vibrations of the cosmos. And he felt that the language of tonality, the simple tonality that the great composers use, was instinctual. It was just like the pull of the sun on the planets. The pull of tonic, we all know it, whether you're tone-deaf musicians or not. We all feel the weight of tonic, just like we can feel gravity upon us. And so if I play a couple examples in C major, so take Schubert. Or take Beethoven, more C major. That's strong C major. Let's go to some Liszt. Where does it want to go? We all feel that, right? So we all feel that strong pull of tonic. Again, to him, the great composers had a link to the cosmos. They could feel these vibrations. So let's talk about Beethoven. Beethoven had the greatest ears in history. Yeah, I know he was deaf. It's not the point. Beethoven had LIGO coming out his ears. You guys know what LIGO is? Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. It's basically 2.5 miles of vacuum chambers that are built to detect the most minute ripples in space-time. They just won the Nobel Prize a couple months ago. Now, Beethoven, in my world, he's got LIGO coming out his ears. Now, what happened with the Nobel Prize was they detected a wave from two colliding black holes of 1.3 billion years ago. It took decades to build this thing and to finally prove Einstein's theory of general relativity that included gravitational waves. So in my world, Beethoven is so sensitive. If Einstein says they're conduits to the cosmos, then there's Beethoven to me with LIGO coming out of his ears. So let's start the fantasy. So we have, over here we have Einstein, 1915 Berlin. He has his studio, and right outside the studio he has his piano. Elsa, his wife, said that in the 2-week period when he penned his first working draft of general relativity that included gravitational waves, he would go between his studio and the piano. And when he was at the piano, he wasn't just playing for like a study break. He would play in a trance and then furiously write code, mathematical code. So 1915 Berlin. Einstein's over there in his studio, piano right outside. Over here, 1815 Vienna, Austria. Ludwig van Beethoven writing the most simple, beautiful thing ever written, the most perfect tonality, the slow movement of Beethoven's Emperor Concerto. So let's start the fantasy. Here's Beethoven, 1815, trying to come up with a piano part for his Emperor Concerto. And at that point, according to great authority, a children's book called Beethoven's Pianos, the pianos were on the floor. He took the legs off so he can feel the vibrations. So let's start. So there's Beethoven trying to get in touch with the cosmos. So he's on the floor, he's waiting, he's listening. And then it comes to him, he hears a little vibration, and it's a bee. It's like, well, okay, a bee, yippee. So while he's waiting for something else to happen, he writes this beautiful descending scale from the cosmos. Little particles of light, little protons of energy above the bee. And then he gets another impulse. This time, it's an F sharp. That's the dominant of tonic. And it's like, well, okay, getting these F sharps. He writes another beautiful scale, F sharp scale, coming down from the heavens, particles of light, protons. And then it comes to him in waves, the most perfect, simple harmony from the cosmos in gravitational waves. And this is the harmony he gets. And above that harmony, he pens the most perfect melody ever written, direct from the cosmos. Meanwhile, Beethoven's over here. He comes flying out of his studio. He's like, Ludwig, what are you doing here? Doing the composing thing, getting in touch with the cosmos. And, well, do you have anything for me? He's like, yeah, actually, this just came to me. So he hands Einstein the musical code for general relativity. Einstein walks to his piano, puts it up, and this is what he plays. Einstein finishes playing, and then he writes his first working draft of general relativity based on the musical code that Beethoven just handed him. He's like, Beethoven, thank you so much. You're welcome. Einstein to Beethoven, nice hair. Beethoven, hey, you too. So what does it all mean? Now, let me tell you, like I said in the beginning, that great music stimulates the imagination. And when the imagination is stimulated, great things happen. Now, great music can stop us in our tracks. That piece is beautiful. I could barely hear you guys breathing when I was playing that. It's simple. It's beautiful. And great music can lead us to truth. And what is the truth? Well, the truth is, we all know what the truth is. It's instinctual. It's like gravity. It's like tonality. And the truth is, we're all a lot more similar than we are different. And the truth is, to quote Kennedy, we all have to share this planet. We all have to breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And the truth is, when we're drunk with imagination, we can see more than the colors black and white. We can see all the colors. When we're drunk with imagination, we never have to again elect a leader who only sees the colors black and white. When we touch the cosmic vibration through great music, we can not only eradicate polio, we can eradicate cancer, AIDS, Alzheimer's. We could, for once and for all, rid the world of nuclear arms and have peace. That's the truth. The truth is, we all know. Truth is, you guys have been great. Thank you. If you want an encore, I can play some lists for you. All right, so this is Liszt Funerai, and this is a piece I played here like 35 years ago. And it's a pretty big work, so you got to sit tight. And it's basically an elegy on the people who died in the revolution, the Hungarian Revolution, that is. And it's quite a work. It's very similar to Chopin. October 1849 was when it was written. And there's a lot of aspects of the piece that sound like Chopin. There's thundering octaves in the left hand. There's a funeral march. There's a beautiful melody that's very similar to one of his ballades. So I give you Liszt Funerai.